And
others are requested to mute themselves except the speaker. Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah. The thing is, this lecture has been arranged to commemorate the 55th anniversary of the first human landing on the moon. Just about 55 years back, to be more precise, at 8:26 a.m. on July 21st, 1969, Neil Armstrong set his left foot on the moon firmly, and that was the first footstep on any other celestial body on Earth. Okay, so that was a defining moment in the human history. And that was the paradigm shift also, okay, in human thinking. So to commemorate that great event, every year, nowadays it is being celebrated as the International Moon Day. On the eve of that, on the occasion of that, I'm giving a talk hosted by Indian space industry exhibitors. Okay, now the topic of today's talk is obviously the moon. Moon is the nearest heavenly body to us when we consider the astronomical distances that are involved. Normally, for example, let us take the case of the sun. The average distance between the Earth and the sun is 15 crore kilometers. Deliberately, I'm telling in crores and lakhs for our people, not millions and billions. So, sun is at a distance of 15 crore kilometers. The nearest planet to Earth, Venus, is at a distance of 4 crore kilometers. Mars, 6 crore kilometers. Compared to all these things, moon is only at a distance of 3,84,000 kilometers. That's all. This.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Your screen is not visible. No slides is appearing now. Again.
It's not appearing?
Yeah. Is there just typing message is coming? Guruprasad is starting.
We are seeing the first slide.
Only slide is there.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now
We can see the slides. We can see the slides, sir. No worries.
Okay.
Now it is okay.
The thing is, moon is
Kannan,
in this.
you can stop your video. Kannan.
No, video can be seen, but it is maybe due to the less bandwidth in the internet speed probably. So everybody should close their video and audio. That may help.
Okay, so the
No,
thing
I'm
is,
seeing. Seeing. Okay.
Moon is the only heavenly body that is circling the Earth, a large heavenly body that is circling the Earth. That is the only natural satellite of the Earth. Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth in this animation. That's what you are seeing. See, moon has been circling the Earth, as scientists say, selenologists who specialize in the moon, they say, moon has been circling the Earth, let us say, for the past 400 crore years or 4 billion years, okay? Earth came into existence at 4.5 billion years ago, but moon actually came into existence, they say, around 4 billion years ago, which is equivalent to 400 crore years ago. But on October 4th, 1957, a tiny competitor, a very, 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 very tiny competitor emerged to the moon. That was Sputnik 1, world's first artificial satellite, Earth's first artificial satellite. As many of you know that that was launched by the former USSR. And on October 4th, 1957, it was launched. And that was the day space age began, or space age dawned. Here, after the dawn of the space age, you can see, for example, Earth and Moon are photographed in a single frame, by a spacecraft. Actually, it is Mars Global Surveyor. This spacecraft was orbiting the Moon. Even today, it is orbiting the Mars. Let me repeat, orbiting the Mars. And from the orbit of Mars, it has taken the picture of half Earth as well as half Moon. That is, their phases are at that particular instant of time. And look at this picture. You see, different phases of the moon are depicted in this. We have full moon, we have crescent moon, we have half quarter moon, half moon, gibbous moon, and new moon, like that. And again, it goes on repeating. And only one phase, FACE, phase of the moon, is visible to us. Okay, you can see. And by looking at these phases, humans actually, they perfected what are known as calendars. Okay, that is why we say Chandramana Yugadi. That means it is based on the lunar phases, lunar calendar. Similarly, Sauramana calendar is there. That is based on apparent motion of the sun around the earth in 1 year. That is Sauramana, but this is Chandramana. And moon, in addition to being used as a time calculator, okay, to enable humans to calculate the time as such, moon was also used for navigation, okay, celestial navigation. Those were the days in the ancient times where there was no GPS or even Navic, okay, and even modern radio navigation systems were also not there. So by looking at the moon and where its position in the sky relative to other heavenly bodies, they could able to arrive at their own position as well as to travel safely towards their destination. This was the ancient times, calendar as well as navigation. But look at the moon today. This is not moon. What I'm showing is the earth. Why I'm showing this is, today scientists think that moon is the key to the understanding of the origin of the earth as well as the solar system. Yes, no doubt about it. That is why moon has become more important. Another reason why moon has become important today to humans is the fact that many of the minerals and fuel resources and water and such things, which are very much essential for the industrial civilization of ours, they are actually available on the moon. So moon can be sourced for the expansion of humans into the other parts of the solar system. That is the firm belief. There is no doubt about it. I'll come to that a little later. Now, how far is the moon? I told you, moon is at a distance of 384,400 kilometers. Moon revolves around the earth in an elliptical orbit. Okay, not too much of ellipse, but still quite an elliptical orbit. But the average distance between the earth and the moon is 384,400 kilometers, or to be more, 402. Okay, that is the distance. And because of this nearby distance, moon actually is responsible for the tides. All of you know, especially in Gujarat, Ran of Kutch and such places, you will see tides. In fact, Bharata Ilita, that is what we say, that is a Sanskrit term. Okay, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides actually in a single day. It is due to the gravitational influence of the moon. The tidal force is given rise to, and that is the reason why their water comes higher and it recedes again 2 times during a day whenever there is as far as a particular place on earth is concerned. Now the other thing is, I request you to kindly mute the microphone, please. Okay. Okay. Actually, sir, madam, would you kindly mute the microphone, please? Okay. The thing, when it comes to the size of the moon,
others are requested to please mute their mics.
Yeah, admin is requested to mute all the mics
except speaker.
Yeah, because I'll be distracted. The flow goes. That is why I don't want that to happen. So I humbly request you, please mute the microphones. Now let us go back, and when it comes to the size of the moon, if you look at the diameter of the earth and the diameter of the moon is 1/4 the diameter of the earth. Okay, earth's diameter is 12,756 kilometers, whereas moon's is 3,476 kilometers. Okay, and what about the mass? One parameter is the width, or let us say how wide it is, or what is the diameter. That is 1/4 of that of the earth. But when it comes to mass, the amount of matter contained in a heavenly body, if you consider that, then moon is 80 times less heavier than the earth. That is, the mass of the moon is 81 times less than the mass of the earth. In terms of mass, you have to put 81 moons together, then it will become one earth. What is the end result of this? Look at this video. I don't know how far it projects properly. When humans are walking on the surface of the moon, it appears as though they are just jumping like rabbits, or even kangaroos, that kind of thing. Now, moon is a horrible place, no doubt about it, in one sense, because when the temperature is 40 degrees centigrade itself, we will be grumbling. It is too much of temperature. Or if it goes down, we say, oh, it's too cold, that kind of thing. But on the moon, we can't even think of the conditions which exist there compared to Earth. If you are on the if you are on the day side of the moon, the one which is facing the sun, then your temperature will be more than plus 100 degrees centigrade. But on the other side, on the night side, the temperature might be minus 150 degrees centigrade. Even you look at the astronaut who is there in the shade of the large boulder there, you will see that the temperature is very low where he is standing in the shade. But the lunar buggy which is there, the wheeled vehicle, the temperature will be high. Okay, that is as far as the moon is concerned. Now, moon, when it goes around the earth, it always points one of its faces towards the earth. Okay, you see, whatever the face of the moon, FACE, the hemisphere of the moon, whatever you are seeing, that is called the near side of the moon. The other one is called as the far side of the moon. Till 1959, humans had not seen as to how the far side of the moon looks. I'll show you that picture. And moon, like any other moon, like the earth, it has got many features which are similar to that of the earth, that on the earth. For example, there are lowlands are there are highlands, plateau kind of things are there are craters there, and you have valleys there. There are so many there are so many features which are on the surface of the moon, which are very prominent, in fact. See, look at that. This is a mountainous region on the moon. Mountainous region on the moon, they are very bright. If you look at the moon from the earth, even to the naked eye, it will look like that. And there are lowland areas which are very dark. You can see in this I can show you this. This is the thing. They call it as such things as Maria, 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 that is plural. Mare, that means sea, that is singular, in fact, because earlier times when people looked at the moon with telescopes, they thought like that. Okay, next thing is you can see a car flying on the surface, an automatic car. Americans called it as lunar buggy. Actually, it is traveling on the surface of the moon. An astronaut is driving there, and you can see that. The thing is, Apollo landings were there on the lowland areas as well as in the highland areas, in the Maria as well as the mountainous regions. Look at that, especially I want to show you this picture to many of the people in Ahmedabad and people in ISRO, they know very well. Look at this picture of the moon. Which camera has taken? This is not a crystal clear picture of the moon showing thousands of craters. This camera was not built in America. This was built in Ahmedabad, actually. Anyway, Mathur sir, Jain sir, all these people, they know very well. For example, what you are seeing here is the part of the rim of a crater. Crater itself is about 150 kilometers in diameter. And this is the part of the rim, not even the rim, part of the rim of the crater. That's all you can say, a crater within crater. You can see here. This beautiful picture was taken not yesterday or today. It was taken as early as 2008 by Chandrayaan-1. All of you know what is the role played by Kiran Kumar sir in this, who was earlier chairman of ISRO, who was earlier SAG director and served there for 40 years. And even as far as Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium of Bangalore is concerned, he is our governing council chairman. Okay, so this is the picture of the moon taken by Chandrayaan-1. And on the surface of the moon, there are certain interesting features. They are called as rills, R-I-L-L-E, rill. Rill is a valley. Okay, those valleys are created by lava tubes on the moon. When the roof of the lava tube collapses, then you will see these kind of valleys. But sometimes Only one part of the roof collapses, the other one is hidden behind the surface of the moon. That can serve as a dwelling for future human travelers and explorers on the moon. You can see one picture where this is the lava tube on the earth, and this is the way it offers protection to the future explorers of the moon. And actually, this picture was also taken by Chandrayaan-1 only. You can see, so what is the contribution of Chandrayaan-1 to the exciting exploration of the moon? You can sense it. The thing is, now let us see, moon has been explored. Explored in the sense moon has been studied for a long time. In the 2nd century BC, itself, this ancient Greek gentleman, Aristarchus of Samos. Aristarchus of Samos, he looked at the moon using geometry. He could able to calculate the size of the moon as well as the distance to the moon. Size as well as the distance, 2,200 years back, he could able to calculate. It was not very accurate anyway, but quite accurate. Now, all of you might have heard the second, the gentleman shown in this picture. His name was Claudius Ptolemaeus, okay, or Claudius Ptolemy, or just Ptolemy. Actually, he was the person who popularized Earth-centered view of the universe or the solar system. That is, Earth is the center of the universe, he was telling. All of us know that is not true now. But anyway, Ptolemy actually very accurately calculated the distance between Earth and moon as well as the size of the moon. He was the first person. About 2,000 years back, he calculated this. Then we have our own Aryabhata. Okay, Aryabhata in his Aryabhatiam, he says very well. See, if we don't see it properly, it is our mistake only. Aryabhata says very clearly, moon actually shines due to the reflection because of the fact that it reflects the sunlight. That is what Aryabhata told. And in another shloka, he says that eclipses are caused by shadows. Very clearly says, solar eclipse is caused by the shadow of the moon falling. Okay, let us say lunar eclipse is caused by the shadow of the earth falling on the moon. Similarly, moon blocking the earth, okay, blocking the earth is responsible. Moon blocking the sun is responsible for the solar eclipse. He very clearly says in his shlokas. And let me tell you one more thing. Let us have some diversion, okay? Let's not talk about geometry, trigonometry, astronomy, and such things, rockets and satellites. Let us actually, think of the influence of the moon on others. For example, moon has influenced the thinking of not only astronomers, scientists, philosophers, and others. It has even inspired the poets. That's what in an earlier lecture, that's what I was telling in planetarium here itself. I thought I would mention Kalidasa belongs to all of us, the entire India, not only to Karnataka or Gujarat or anywhere. Okay, Kalidasa was supposed to be in whatever today is Madhya Pradesh, Ujjain, that is the place. See, many poets were influenced by moon from ancient time onwards. Kalidasa, all of you know. I'm pronouncing in Sanskritic way, Kalidasa, I say. I don't say Kalidas, okay? So Kalidasa actually, he has written masterpieces like Meghaduta, Ratusamhara, Malavika Mitra, Vikramorvashiya, Raghuvamsha, Kumarasambhava, Abhignana Shakuntala, like that he has written. So it seems there is a story, a funny story. I don't know whether it is true or not, but it has come in various versions. So one of Kalidasa's friends challenged him. It seems that you always compare beautiful women with the moon, and beautiful things with something else. Upama Kalidasasya, what we say. But can you compare something related to buffalo, which is very black, dark, with the moon, beauty of the moon? The Kalidasa took it as a challenge, and this Sanskrit shloka he designed, it seems. So it goes like this. All of you should know this. Bhojanam dehi Rajendra, Dhruta Supa Samanvitam, Mahishancha Sharachandra, Chandrika Dhavalam Dadihi. This Sanskrit shloka says, simple translation says, "Oh, my patron King Bhojaraja, okay, you provide me sumptuous lunch, very good lunch, okay, it should contain lots and lots and lots and lots of ghee, okay, clarified butter, as well as, let us say, dal. Supa means that is the word which was used, okay, ghruta supa samanvitam, it should contain. But of course, it should contain one thing without missing, okay, what is it? Mahishancha charat chandra chandrika davalam dadihi. That is, it should contain curds, fantastic, fantastic curds made from buffalo's milk. How that buffalo's milk should be there? It should be as white and as clear as the beauty of the full moon in the post-monsoon period. Okay, Sharad Rutu's Chandra, in fact. So that is what he said. So when challenged, Kalidasa actually could able to rise to the occasion, and he could able to compare something related to buffalo with the moon. So goes the story. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. But anyway, just to underscore the fact that the moon has inspired not only scientists and philosophers, but poets as well. And what about Shakespeare? In one of his plays, A Midsummer Night's Dream, he says, he attributes it to one of the characters. How slow this old moon wanes. She lingers my desires, like to a stepdame or a dowager, long withering out a young man's revenue. He says, the thing is how slow the moon's phases are. That's what he is telling. And the character is very impatient. Okay. Now, when it comes to our culture again, nothing signifies our culture than cinema, in fact, in India. Nothing signifies than cinema. And the poets of the yesteryears, let us say Shailendra, or Majru Sultanpuri, or Kamal Jalalabadi, or let us say Sahir Ludhianvi, and such people, okay, they have written beautiful songs comparing beautiful ladies with the moon. I'll show you just one clipping. Okay, that was a very old Guru Dutt's movie, Chaudhary Chand Ho. Okay, so you know very well how emotional the poet is when he thinks of or experiences the beauty and the full drowned in the light of the full moon. And what about the relatively recent cinema poets? In fact, people who are very popular. Javed Akhtar's son. Okay, let us finish it up there. Anyway, what I want to say is cinemas or movies are the expression of one's cultural traits, in fact. See, that also has been experienced, that also has been influenced by the moon, as moon had influenced ancient poets, Sanskrit poets, or even poets all over the world. Okay, I told you, Ptolemy, actually, let us come back to the moon very quickly. Let us go from here. uh, Ptolemy said Earth was the center of the universe. Okay, that was about 2000 years back, almost. Now, there was one Polish monk by name Nicholas Copernicus. In 1469, his review was published, in which it was said that sun is the center of the universe, he said. Not sun is the center of the solar system, universe, he told, because nobody knew what universe was. Okay, all said and done. This was the beginning of the modern thinking and the beginning of modern science. Then, Copernicus' view was very much opposed, and many people came for beating him up or even killing, even to a certain extent. Let us say that much of emotion used to be there. But anyway, it had a fantastic support by the observation of the moon by Galileo Galilei. He observed the moon through his telescope, small telescope, and found that there were mountains on the moon, valleys on the moon, and the moon was not as perfect as it was thought. Then, the thing is, Sir Isaac Newton, he told as to why an apple falls on the surface of the earth, at the same time, why moon goes around the earth, and the same force, the gravitation, which is acting on both of them. So he was a genius. And after Newton's time, bigger and bigger telescopes were built, but technology did not advance much, so that though humans had a craving for traveling to the moon, many science fiction writers like Jules Verne, actually they wrote From the Earth to the Moon, a science fiction novel, and it was a very, very interesting book. But these are all fiction, not facts. But anyway, the time was right for the advancement of the technology. On October 4th, 1957, October 4th, 1957, the former USSR, or the Soviet Union, launched the world's first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1. It was only 84 kilogram hollow steel sphere with a radio transmitter and a thermometer. That's all, nothing else. Okay. So anyway, that became the competitor to the moon, I said, and space age dawned, and that is the beginning of the exciting exploration of the moon. Okay, in the next few minutes, let us go further. And the thing is, in the early years of the space age itself was born when there was intense competition between the USA and USSR. See, USA was supposed to be a democracy and a capitalist country, and USSR was a communist country with a closed society. So, which system was the most superior? That was the kind of competition which was there, and lots of suspicion was there between the two. And against this background, the space age was born, and it was initiated by the Soviet Union, or USSR, with the launch of Sputnik 1. That was on October 4th, 1957. In 1959, January itself, within a year or so, the Soviet Union launched a spacecraft towards the moon. A spacecraft towards the moon. But the thing is, that spacecraft was called as Luna 1 or Lunik 1, but it missed the moon by 6,000 kilometers. 6,000 kilometers it missed. And but it reported that moon did not have a magnetic field. So what? Though it might have missed the moon, but anyway, it detected something. Then Lunik 2 or Luna 2 was launched by the Soviet Union to the consternation of the United States in September 1959, and it hit the surface of the moon. Okay. So in a place called Imbrium Basin, I told you, for example, there are dark areas of the moon which were confused as seas or oceans once upon a time, but it is a dry area, and there it hit the surface of the moon. Luna 2 became the first man-made object to hit any other celestial body, reach another celestial body. Then there was Lunik 3 or Luna 3. It was so exciting. I told you, moon goes around the earth once in 27.3 days. But at the same time, moon spins around its own axis once in 27.3 days. The end result is that you will always see one side of the moon only, not the other side. But how is the other side? How do you know that? Actually, that was shown to the humans by this Luna 3 spacecraft, because after launch, it went so far away from the moon, it took the picture of the backside of the moon or far side of the moon. And when again it came back to the earth, it could able to transmit those pictures. And for the first time in the history of humans, they could able to, this is the way actually it went from the earth towards the moon, backside of the moon. Again, when it came near the earth, it transmitted the pictures. Look at that. This is the way the backside of the moon or the far side of the moon looked. Now, for comparison, you can see so many areas which are dark on the side of the moon, which is visible to us. But look at that. This is a different thing. It was a puzzle for humans. Why moon should be like this? Even today, to a certain extent, it's a puzzle indeed. That's why it's exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm showing this picture of the moon just because of the fact that Mathur Saab and Jain Saab may remember, and many of you, this is the picture of the moon taken by Cartosat 2 spacecraft. Actually, that's what I understand. Cartosat 2 spacecraft. At that time, I got this picture of the moon taken by Carter 2 way back in 2007. That is what I understand. This is the picture taken by our spacecraft. So you should appreciate this. And whatever here you see, Sea of Tranquility. This is the one, Sea of Tranquility. This is where Neil Armstrong landed, in fact. Okay, later. Now, Soviet Union was the first country to hit a spacecraft to the surface of the moon. What about slow, gentle landing on the surface of the moon? That was also first accomplished by the Soviet Union in 1966. That was Luna 9 or Lunik 9. Okay, it gently settled down on the surface of the moon. Humans had a sigh of relief, many scientists also, because people were thinking that a spacecraft which lands on the surface of the moon, just it sinks into it very slowly and nothing will be able to stand on the surface of the moon, they were thinking. So that was not correct. It was proved by Luna 9, and that changed the human history again. Then, the Americans, they were outbeaten by the Soviets. The first spacecraft towards the moon was Luna 1. The first spacecraft to hit the moon was Luna 2. The first spacecraft to take the far side of the moon's picture was Luna 3. The first spacecraft to land on the moon was Luna 9. So what about Americans? They were very unhappy at that time because they were competitors. That was the Cold War era. And look at that. They had a program called Rangers. Okay, Ranger spacecraft. You can see here, I will show you. Rangers went on a suicidal mission towards the moon. They went towards the moon and just hit. That's all. One of the spacecraft, Ranger spacecraft, you can see it hit the surface of the moon, and till the end of its journey, it was taking the pictures. Till the end of the journey, it was taking the pictures. You can see this. Look at that. It is just nearing the moon at thousands of kilometers per hour. It is just went. Yes, that's it. It hit the surface of the moon. Till the last second, it was sending this picture. Okay, that is one thing. Then the second thing is this Americans also landed a spacecraft on the moon. Russians landed Luna 9. So Americans landed at least 4 to 5 spacecraft, automatic spacecraft on the surface of the moon. They were called as surveyors. And Americans launched one more group of spacecraft called lunar orbiters. They took very, very clear images of the surface of the moon. And from that, they could able to select the landing sites of Apollo 11 and other Apollo spacecraft. And this is the picture of the Apollo spacecraft. And you can see Apollo spacecraft consisted of 3 parts. The 3 astronauts where they are sitting, it is called as command module. Behind that, to supply water, electricity, everything to them is service module. And there is a rocket engine behind service module. And this is the lunar module which landed on the surface of the moon. So 3, only ultimately what came back to Earth was only this part, this conical part, command module. And see why I termed the talk as exciting exploration of the moon, past, present, and future. Because the exploration of the moon during the 60s was really exciting. America and Russia, they were competing with each other like Olympic sprinters. In that situation, one of the I would say the very first Apollo spacecraft, Apollo 1, was sitting on the launch pad, and these 3 astronauts were inside Apollo 1 spacecraft. They were just having a rehearsal, not the launch, rehearsal only, and there was a fire in the Apollo spacecraft, and all the 3 of them perished. All the 3 of them were dead on the launch pad itself. Not even during the launch, just a practice rehearsal. At that time, they died. Look at that. Americans wanted to go first. Russians also wanted to go first. In this situation, such things were bound to happen. I would not say whether correct or not. Who am I to judge? But the thing is, this is what happened. And it was very, very unfortunate because, the astronauts are heroes in those days. See, nowadays everybody is going very easily, relatively easily. But those were the days, Apollo days, were the time, or even Russian Soyuz or Vashod or Vostok. At that time, people were not sure whether rockets would explode or they go to space. But astronauts and cosmonauts at that time took risk, and they are my heroes even today, I would say. That's why I term this talk as exciting. Then Apollo 7, 3 astronauts died on the launch pad itself. Okay. But anyway, after 1 year of delay, Americans perfected their giant rocket Saturn V. And, I'll show a clipping of that. This is the rocket, moon rocket that launched Apollo spacecraft towards the moon. And in a hurried way, when they came to know through their intelligence network, was this that the Soviet Union was contemplating of sending some of their cosmonauts around the moon first. Americans took the decision in December 1968 to send 3 people around the moon and bring them back. Okay, so that is the decision. So you can see Frank Borman here, the captain of that Apollo 8 mission, James Lowell and William Anders. These two are dead now. Very recently, William Anders, he passed away about 1.5 months back. His plane crashed into a lake and he died just 1.5 months back. Frank Borman died some few years back, and he's the only one. Jim Lovell is the only one who is living, 96-year-old. And these are the people who traveled towards another celestial body from the earth. First people to travel towards another celestial body. They didn't land. They just circled the moon and came back. But anyway, moon is not 10,000 kilometers away. It is 384,000 kilometers away. And this is the way they went. They went and started orbiting the moon and orbited the moon, and again escaped from the gravitational field of the moon by firing rocket engines. And this is the way they came back. And this is the picture of the Earth visible from the lunar orbit. When they looked at this picture, the astronauts and everybody thought, we are quarreling on the surface of the Earth for no reason. There are no borders on the Earth. These are all man-made. We are all humans. We are all the life forms which are who are living on the surface of the Earth and on the Earth. So we have to protect our planet. That is the kind of view which was developed by this picture taken by Apollo 8 astronauts. And now I will go to Apollo 11, the first humans to go and the first humans to land on the surface of the moon. You can see the 36-story high Saturn V rockets. This is the beautiful clipping. Let me acknowledge one thing. If I've shown you this and if you have enjoyed this, I have to thank my colleague, Mr. Deepak, who is sitting with me here. And, two more colleagues of mine, Mr. Ravi, who's another engineer like Deepak, and Mr. Srinivas is another colleague. All of them have helped me in, let us say, in facilitating this lecture. In fact, I thank all of them. And now this is Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins. These are the 3 historical figures, and all of you know that.
They can come near to the camera also. We can see them at least.
So the thing is, you can see all said and done, Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin Aldrin. Okay, I've seen Edwin Aldrin in Washington, D.C. Anyway, my greatest ambition was to meet Neil Armstrong, which was not possible. And these two are not there. Only Edwin Aldrin is still living. Okay, this is the way the lunar module went and the way it went and landed on the surface of the moon, and that's it. And now the historic the words of Neil Armstrong I want you to hear. Okay, after going to the moon, traveling 384,000 kilometers and gently descending to the surface of the moon, and he came out of his lunar module Eagle, and you listen what he said.
I'm not able to listen his voice.
So Neil Armstrong said, the surface of the moon looks finely powder, okay, fine grained, and almost looks like a powder, he said. Then he said, I'm stepping onto the moon from the LEM. Okay, LEM means Lunar Excursion Module Eagle. He says that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. What prophetic words, really, no doubt about it. And look at that. This is the man on the moon picture. Probably billions of pictures have been printed by NASA of this picture. And don't think this is Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong is there in the visor of the helmet of Edwin Aldrin. This is the picture of Edwin Aldrin taken by Neil Armstrong. Unfortunately, there are no good pictures of Neil Armstrong on the moon. Simply Edwin Aldrin forgot that. Okay, though it is difficult to believe, that is what happened. Then Russians, Soviet Union, Soviet Russians, they could not send their human space travelers to the moon, cosmonauts, but they sent robotic spacecraft towards the moon and towards the moon, and they landed. Some of them, I told you, Luna 9 landed. So Luna 16, 20, 24, they brought back soil samples from the moon. And Russians also launched lunokhodies, two of them. They were automatic cars which traveled more than 50 kilometers on the surface of the moon just by remote control. All these happened in 1970 and 1973, long back. And the thing is, thanks to the let us say the samples of lunar rocks and soils brought back by Apollo astronauts as well as by Soviet spacecraft, a revolutionary theory was put forward as to how moon came into being. It seems the scientists say, for example, you have in Ahmedabad, you have Professor Narendra Bhandari Saab. So he specializes in the moon, you know very well. He also can vouch for this. Moon came into existence about 400 crore years ago or 4 billion years ago when a body which is of the size of Mars came and hit the Earth at a particular angle. And a lot of dust was thrown out and everything was circling the Earth. And finally, they coalesced and formed Moon. Okay, thanks to the Apollo and the automatic spacecraft, today we could able to understand the origin of the moon as well as the history of the Earth. And between 1976 and 1990, there was no spacecraft which went towards the moon. Humans coolly forgot because Americans won the lunar race by sending their people first, and everything was forgotten. Okay, and support could not be obtained easily. But anyway, in 1990, Japan became the third country to send a spacecraft towards the moon. But in 1994, an American spacecraft called Clementine, actually it went towards the moon, and actually it appeared as though water ice was there in the lunar polar areas. Okay, water ice was there, and that excited scientists like anything. And that started the second phase of lunar exploration, which is still going on. Okay, that's the way. Quickly, I will go through. Then, as part of that, the thing is, after Japan and the United States, in the second phase, China sent their spacecraft, European Space Agency sent their spacecraft, and of course, India sent its first Chandrayaan 1, which I would say one can talk about 3 hours about Chandrayaan 1, but I would not even speak for 3 minutes. Okay, about Chandrayaan 1. Chandrayaan 1 was India's first mission to moon. It was launched on October 22nd, 2008. The drama which went there at that time, I was a mute testimony to it on the day of launch. Some other time I will share that. And of course, this is the picture of Chandrayaan 1 spacecraft in Sriharikota before its launch. And this is the moon impact probe, which was suggested by Abdul Kalam Sir to include in Chandrayaan 1 so that it can go and hit the surface of the moon. And of course, on November 14th, 2008, on Children's Day, moon probe, which is 37 kilograms weight at the time of launch, it went and hit the surface of the moon. And India became the 4th individual country to reach the lunar surface. Reach means reaching, not slowly landing. Okay, it broke up into pieces. But anyway, we reached the lunar surface in 2008 itself. And of course, this is a marvel of Indian engineering and a deep space network antenna at Byalalu near Bangalore. You know what is the width of this antenna or the diameter of this antenna? It is only 105 feet or 32 meters. And this has got what is known as 7-mirror beam waveguide system, an electronic system, which is very, very unique. And of course, what Chandrayaan did, Kiran Kumar sir always says, don't think that everybody has already discovered everything. India doesn't have anything to discover or anything. You always try, okay? Something will be there which we can discover. We can contribute to the world in terms of science and technology, he says. Look at that. See, 12 people had landed on the moon. Dozens of spacecraft had gone towards the moon. But the first spacecraft to say there is water on the moon without any doubt, without, that is conclusive discovery of water on the moon was none other than your Chandrayaan-1 spacecraft. Of course, after Chandrayaan-1, maybe in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I'll finish off this lecture. After Chandrayaan-1, the next logical step was Chandrayaan-2. Chandrayaan-1 had a hard landing, that is, that just impacting something on the surface of the moon. And of course, from the orbit of the moon itself, Chandrayaan detected water on the moon. Okay, that is the thing, first spacecraft. Then Chandrayaan-2's objective was, of course, you start orbiting the moon and take high resolution pictures. For example, it has got 8 instruments. Even today, the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter is orbiting the moon even at this instant of time and collecting information. But we tried to land on the surface of the moon gently, but it was not possible. Okay, just when the spacecraft was hardly 2.1 kilometers from the surface of the moon, it could not accomplish. There was some problem. Anyway, all I want to say is, did we start crying and did we just kept quiet? No, we can't do such things. Never. It is not in our blood in India, or for that matter in the human blood. A urge to explore is there always. Okay, it is in the human psyche. So anyway, why? What was the problem that was identified painstakingly by ISRO? Painstakingly, and enough measures were undertaken. For example, technological upgradation, change of procedures, and such things were done. And I'll come to that. But anyway, from the orbit of the moon, you can see how beautiful pictures Chandrayaan-2 orbiter has taken. It can take pictures on the surface of the moon with a resolution of less than 50 centimeters or something like that. I understand. Okay, so you can imagine what kind of capability we have today. What kind of capability? Mathur Saab and others may remember we started with Bhaskara 1 with a resolution of 1 kilometer from this from 600 kilometer orbit. Now, from a height of 100 to 150 kilometers, while orbiting the moon, we have less than a meter or less than half a meter capability. Means how much of technological growth is there as far as India is concerned, and ISRO in particular is concerned, about which all Indians have to be proud of. Okay. Now let us come to Chandrayaan 3, and whatever could not be accomplished in Chandrayaan 2, we attempted again in Chandrayaan 3 for the second. And you can see the propulsion module there, Chandrayaan 3 here, and you can see Vikram lander again there, and you can see the engines there. In fact, 4 engines, 2 of them are visible. And this is the Pragyan rover, okay, inside Vikram lander, and you can see again 2 engines are visible. It was launched on July 14, 2023 by LVM-3 rocket. You know, you can see these 2 boosters, solid boosters, which are firing. We call them as S-200s, and I have named them as Bakasuras, okay. You know, the proverbial Bakasur is there in Mahabharata. You know, the thing is, he is a demon who is supposed to have fantastic appetite to eat so many things, including the person who brings the food. In fact, why I have named them Bakasurs is because, you know, each one of these boosters has got 207,000 kilograms of propellant. 207,000, 207,000. 414,000 kilograms of propellant is washed out in 2 minutes 20 seconds. That means what is the prodigal rate at which the propellant consumption is there. That is how the enormous lifting power is there. Chandrayaan 3 is sitting there inside the heat shield. And of course, July 14th was the launch of Chandrayaan 3 last year, but it took more than 40 days to reach the moon and finally to land on the surface of the moon gently in the south polar region of the moon on August 23rd, 2023 at 6:03 p.m., which the Prime Minister has mandated that we should celebrate it as National Space Day. Here in Planetarium, we are also planning a grand show. We will do our level best to make the people understand how much of struggle is there on the part of India in exploring the moon. And you can see this is the way Vikram lander approached the surface of the moon. I'm not showing any video or anything much information because this is not a lecture on the Chandrayaan. And of course, Pragyan rover coming out. You know that Pragyan rover has traveled already 100 meters on the surface of the moon. Just what is there? You ask the rover to come down, it will come down. You may think like that, many of you. But 30 plus mechanisms had to fire. Then only it had to come down. Everything worked well. And I would always call this is the picture of the century. This is the Vikram lander. You can see the 4 engines. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is sitting on the surface of the moon. Okay. And this picture was taken by Pragyan rover from a distance. When I showed this picture to Kiran Kumar sir, he said, look at that, the way in which the soil is different here in this area, probably due to plume impingement. He was telling, you see, that is the power of observation anyway. And okay, so much so till Chandrayaan 3. Now let us see what humans will do in the next 5 minutes. I'll finish up the lecture. The thing is, the last humans to lift off from the surface of the moon were Apollo 17 astronauts. They lifted up from a place called Taurus Littoral region, and I will show you a very small video, a few seconds video of the spacecraft lifting off from the surface of the moon. Yeah, it lifted off. You see how it is going and pitching over. Okay, all said and done, you may remember one experiment was done with Vikram lander. After all the experiments are over, it was made to ascend from the lunar surface for a few meters, not few meters, few centimeters, and again settle down. That is one of the fantastic experiments. Okay, that augurs well for Chandrayaan 4, I'm sure. Okay, now Apollo program was the human exploration of the moon program. Okay, Apollo program was the one which, with the help of humans, explored the moon. That was 50 years back. In 1972, I showed this clipping. Now, America has a program called Artemis, okay, under which space travelers are sent to moon again, not for 1 or 2 days stay, for the continuous stay or the sustainable stay of humans on the moon, as well as to convert human into a springboard for the human journey beyond the moon towards Mars and even more distant worlds. And NASA has scripted what are known as Artemis Accords. See, already 33 countries are signatories to that, including our own India. So you must know this. This is the Indian tricolor here. India is also a signatory to Artemis Accords only. Artemis Accords, it has signed. That shows India's confidence. Yes, we have a lot of confidence because we have a lot of experience. We have the necessary skills to undertake, participate in the human exploration of the moon of the future. Of course, 3 elements are there in Artemis. One is the rocket. It is called SLS system. And the Orion spacecraft, this is the second element. And this is the third element called Gateway. This is a space station around the moon. And using all these things, okay, and a lander, humans are landed. Humans will be landing on the moon again on the lunar surface, at least as of now, optimistically, NASA says it is in 2026. Okay, 2026. And that is the plan. Why humans are going to the moon? I told you already, there are so many resources. Water is there, oxygen is there, hydrogen is there, and metals are there. Okay, minerals containing metals, especially what are known as rare earth metals, they are there. Okay, if you find water, you can electrolyze, and hydrogen and oxygen you can generate, and oxygen you can use for breathing, hydrogen you can use as fuel, and like that. Moon has many things, fuel and mineral resources, which are essential for the industrial civilization of humans of today. And especially there is one more element, one more substance called helium-3, which scientists say, let me cautiously say, it might be, or it will be the clean fuel for future fusion reactors, which are yet to be built. Let me be very emphatic in this. And of course, here you can see a picture of people doing many things on the moon: scientists, engineers, explorers, industrialists. They're all there. They're going to be there. And you can see a lunar base in the future, extracting minerals from the moon, and conducting what is known as in situ utilization, that is utilizing the resources found there. And of course, many scientists say that large telescopes can be built and established on the far side of the moon, which is never visible to Earth. Okay, but it is free from the pollution of the electromagnetic waves from the side of the Earth. Okay, so it always turns away from the Earth, so you can observe the universe using different kinds of telescopes by establishing them there. So moon, it is in the human plans. I would say human, not America, Russia, or anything. Humans are planning to convert moon as a springboard, or as a stopping point, pit stop, they say, for traveling towards Mars. It can be a stepping stone. They want to convert it into a stepping stone for traveling towards the much distant Mars, as well as other distant worlds of the outer solar system. One can gain many things by going back to the moon. So that is the reason why this exciting exploration is still continuing, and it will continue. So in the past, in the 60s, exciting exploration, the exploration was exciting. Today also it is very exciting. So many spacecraft have failed. Only India's and China's spacecraft have succeeded recently in the past 2 years, let me say, fully. So moon will be a very busy place in the next, from the next decade, definitely. It will be a very busy place, and humans are going to expand into the moon in the future without any doubt. And so much so, thank you very much for your kind attention. And once again, I thank Mathu Sab, Jain Sab, and all others from both the associations as well as the IIT Roorkee for inviting me to give a talk on this subject. And I have tried my level best to create excitement in this lecture. Hopefully, it will benefit you in some way or the other in future. Once again, thank you very much, and I am ready for the questions. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an exciting talk. As the title says, an illustrated lecture on the exciting exploration of the moon, past, present, and future. I would say it is very well illustrated lecture, and a very exciting lecture. And we had a great participation from the audience, and I'm sure they had a great treat on Sunday, taking out their time. And with that, if there is some time for question and answer session, maybe participants can ask few questions to our today's speaker.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Ashok Shukla here.
Yeah, please, sir.
Dr. Upadhyay, sir. Dr. Guruprasad, sir.
Yes,
it was
sir.
a wonderful talk and good exposure to the past, present, and future of moon exploration. And I congratulate you, sir, for a wonderful historical as well as present and future developments in this field. I have one small query.
Please,
It
sir.
cannot be a question because I would like to hear from you because you are in the center and you have a vast experience in this area. And where was the beginning of the race between